Our guest today is Lisa-Marie Reichling, and she's a consultant, a speaker, and an expert in business, people, and culture. She has over 10 years of experience and has worked with in both corporate environments but also family-owned businesses, including hidden champions and global market leaders. This experiences gave her a very deep understanding in very diverse organizational structures. With a background in coaching and strategic consulting, Lisa helps companies and leaders navigate change, build sustainable structures, and foster strong company cultures. She combines business expertise with a keen understanding of people and organizations, always with the goal of positioning businesses for long-term success. Welcome to the show, Lisa. Hello and welcome back to the World of AI podcast. We have another amazing guest today, and before we welcome her, let me first of all welcome our co-host André Stamm. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, I'm great. I just came back from the US. I had a great weekend with a lot of entrepreneurs and I learned a lot about AI again. So that is very important to get up at the edge.
Awesome. And we have another amazing guest today. We have Lisa Reichling with us, who has more than 10 years of experience in the leadership space. She's working with people, she's working with culture, and that obviously does have a lot to do as well with AI. And we are going to investigate today what exactly. Okay? Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Such a pleasure to have you here. So maybe just share a little bit about yourself very briefly, like, what have you done so far and how did you end up in leadership before we take the bridge to AI, okay?
Yeah, sure. So I started out studying international business because that sounded fancy at the time and it wasn't only in German, it was also with the international and English context. So my focus was always on HR and marketing and I wasn't quite sure which way to go. And at the end of my studies, I got to know a coach and I was really fascinated by what he was doing. Had never heard of coaching at that point. It was really mind-blowing for me, even looking back that you in an international business study don't learn about coaching and consulting, just the classical way, all with numbers and so that was the point where I said, okay, that's really intimidating, I want to learn more about it, and that kind of got me into the HR direction. So I started also deepening my knowledge in coaching and started out in a big corporate world, in a big company in Germany, and learned a lot about leadership. I was really lucky to go into a parental substitute. So someone was on parental leave and I was able to step in really right after my bachelor's degree, which is quite uncommon in that position. It was like an HR business partnering position. But what's really fascinating for me is that I had the chance to use my coaching skills that I learned during that time. And so people didn't have a problem with me being really young to the business world because I was able to ask good questions and kind of guide them through the process. So that was the way I got introduced to the HR field. So that's mainly what I did more than 10 years in different environments, big corporations, smaller family-owned businesses, all had different challenges, from being in the trade industry, trying to, from experts in trade and craftsmanship, trying to get them into good leadership positions. So this was also a topic that kind of followed along, trying to, from like the very traditional point of view that you find in many companies in Germany, that people actually do a really good job. They're really good at what they're doing, and the logical steps seem to be, you're going to be the next leader, so we're going to promote you and you're going to go up the ladder. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people really have leadership skills. So being a leader and being an expert in the field is something totally different. And I think a lot of mid-sized companies in Germany, you will find that there's a structure of people who got promoted to positions that are really unhappy also because they can't work as they're in their expertise anymore. They're far off from the business and they have to deal with people stuff and so that's really, I've always loved working with those people and, coaching them, asking them questions, maybe guiding them into a different direction, changing career paths, and those who wanted to stay in that path, enabling them to do a good job as well as a leader. So, yeah.
Yep, that's very common what you just told. In Germany, at least, that the good people who have their fields, their profession, and what they like, what they do, then the management comes here and say, okay, we would like to promote you, and now you are a leader. But they have not in mind that they change the profession, and that maybe the employees are not happy about that. They are happy what they are doing, and they are not changing the profession to be a leader. That's completely different skills. It's very common. Maybe our guests can also share in the comments if that is also very common in your country current now. That would be very interesting to hear, because I heard it a lot.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
the path of being an expert or the path of leadership is something that maybe in the past 5, 6 years, maybe even 10, started to come up. That people said, okay, it's also okay to have a parallel career and not being in that leadership position, but it's still, I find a lot of people have a status issue with this. So they think if I don't take this leadership position, I'm not equal to, you know what I mean? So this, I'm really interested also in hearing what people say, if it's the same in other countries, or are they more advanced already or further on in that journey. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so, obviously, leadership is in itself already a pretty complex topic. Now, adding the AI layer on top of that is adding a whole different level to the game, right? So, what are you currently seeing in the market in terms of like what is currently, on the one hand, the opinion of leadership against AI, and what trends do you currently see that probably will hit leadership in the near future?
Well, I think something that's already been common is change, having abilities to guide change as a leader, and the change has now become more advanced. It's faster than ever. So it's not only that the environment, the whole market, everything is changing. It's also AI that is a massive change process in itself. So I think this is really a critical skill that leaders in this time need, navigating change, helping people also go through that change. Because I mean, what comes with AI and implementing AI is also a fear of people losing their jobs. Things are changing. People are afraid they're not skilled enough, that they're not intelligent enough to use AI. There's a really big burden to start using it, and that in itself, I think, is a massive thing that leaders need to address. Beside the whole market maybe crashing, ups and downs in the economy, that's another level of fear that comes. So I think this is really, the biggest challenge, I guess, of our generation.
So when did you first see that your clients be aware that the AI need to be implemented and to be adapted to their business? I'm pretty sure that because you are there for consulting and for coaching for them, that they are very aware of the current trends, so that they're not sleeping. A lot of companies in Germany are sleeping. But if they are already have a coach or a consulting company, and with such big strength, so they may be aware. But when did that start from your point of view? And have all of your clients already implemented or adopt AI in a way?
Not really. So I think currently I also work as head of people and culture in a marketing agency. Obviously, they're really into that topic and know that their whole industry is going to change. So I think they're quite far, and that has probably started a couple years back. I think the main thing was obviously ChatGPT being able to, everyone being able to use it, so it's mass compatible. But I still have clients and I've talked to people, for example, owners of a big hotel complex, who actually told me, I don't think this is for us. They're in their 50s, I think. And they said, I don't think we'll ever need this. This is going to be fine. That's just a trend. We'll be fine. And I said, wow, because I look at their processes. This is also what I do, and then I think you can save probably 50% of your time. The whole hotel industry, the tourism industry, this is massively impacted. And I think AI is quite far down the road already, looking at how your rooms are booked and trying to use AI, making that easier. But they said, our processes work fine. We're good with this. So I was really surprised that there's still a lot of people out there. I think mainly maybe smaller businesses that try to push it a little bit and don't want to look into it. So yeah, there's both types of clients in all industries, I guess.
Yeah, even within the hotel industry. So I was also a CEO of a hotel business with 30 rooms. That was quite interesting, and there are a lot of processes which are very standard, but which are very easy to automate. And with the automation on top and with the AI knowledge, you can provide such a better service so that you can give the clients a wow factor. Say, oh, that is really good. They know what I really like. And if I come back, there's a special feature they are remembering. So that doesn't mean that you are reducing the people at least, but you can increase the wow factor for your clients. Very easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And maybe talking about wow factors, and we heard a lot about anxieties, fears, right? People a little bit hesitant to actually, and I think it's not only at the leadership level, also obviously at the employee level, right?
Yep.
So what can leaders do to actually like counter those obstacles, or like, trying to remove those things that are standing right now in the way of actually starting to use it and start that change management process?
I think one of the first things they should do is walk the talk, so use AI themselves, because I've also seen that, that the owner of a company says, we need to implement this, and then, okay, what are you using currently? Oh, I'm not using that. So I think this is the first step. That should be a no-brainer, but actually they have their fears too, and depending, I guess, on generation and age, there might be a bit of a barrier. So once they start using it and also talk about their obstacles and their challenges they may have with it, and then, enabling people further than just a training. I've seen there's so many free resources out there in the web, so you can kind of self-learn and go through that journey. But I think it's really critical that they allow time in their processes, in their daily businesses, for the employees to really use it, to experiment with it. So, for example, we had in one context, we sat together, and I think there's a word I heard a couple of months ago that's called promptathon. So, kind of like a marathon, but with prompting. So we put people together in a room and we said, you all have obstacles, obviously, and it was in the creative area. So they said, I'm afraid also that my creativity is not working. So we sat together, said, just let's prompt, let's use the screen. Someone's sharing their screen, and we'll prompt together. Everyone's experimenting, and we'll share best practices. What works, what doesn't work, how can you use it to, in this case, specifically, enable your creativity, use it as an inspiration rather than shifting all the work to AI. Because I think, something that AI can never fully replace is creativity in humans. So you can use it to get going. You can, if you have the white piece of paper and you don't know where to start, I think this is a good way to get yourself going and then kind of go back and forth. So this is something that leaders need to allow, though. Like if you still go daily business, you have strict timings, And if you don't allow maybe an extra hour a day or maybe half an hour even to kind of get going, it's really hard for employees, because I don't think not everyone is really motivated to do that in their free time. So
Yeah. I really like the concept of doing a kind of gamification, so that will tear down the fear of the technology. And
yeah.
also the concept you just mentioned, that the leaders free up time during the work to investigate the AI part. So you have half an
Mhm.
hour a day or a week, or an hour a week. Even these small steps will increase the creativity to use AI and the productivity over a year extremely. So that is nearly one, if it's only 1 hour a week, you have 50 hours after a year. And what we all can create in 1 week, over 1 week of work, that's a very good idea. And I can really suggest that everybody should do that. Very
Yeah.
good.
I also think that, trying to get the people to develop an AI first mindset, not in terms of um, everything I do needs to be AI specific, but with every task I do, with every process step in my daily work, I can ask myself, is there a possibility to do this faster or better with AI to save time for different things, for maybe more time for creativity, for strategic work, all those kinds of things. So I think that's something that you need to reinforce, though, because it doesn't help to just say that once. But as I said, walk the talk, integrate it in meetings, share, your highlights, AI highlights, your AI fails, whatever it is. So to just, have it as a common mindset in everyone's head when they start their laptop. The first thing they should open is, I don't know, ChatGPT or whatever AI tool they're using, to kind of have that there, have it
Totally.
present.
Totally true. Now, looking at the level up, right? So now we talked about the employees. Now, obviously, management will also be impacted by AI. And typically, as it is
Hmm.
always with bigger corporations, especially,
Yeah.
right? You have the sandwich positions, which are usually the ones that are trying to eliminate first because they are costing money. And if we can eliminate them, awesome. So, how can leaders today get themselves ready for the future so that they are not the ones who are getting eliminated?
I think there too, have the AI mindset and try to be up to date. I mean, it's a really fast developing technology. So whatever you read a year ago doesn't have to be true now. And there's tools coming up, and things are changing. So I think you kind of at least need to be up to date to understand what's possible. I'm not saying you have to be an expert and know every tool and know everything, but that's something that's really important. And I think um, use it in order to make your work better is probably the best advice, and show that by implementing it, by freeing up time for your strategic impact, for your value, is probably the best thing they can do to show it doesn't work without me or without humans. We just need to enable ourselves and the others to use AI to do a better job, more efficient job.
And it will not replace these employees who are doing that, because they are so valuable for the company, because they are
Yeah,
understand how to implement AI.
yeah,
Even if maybe they replace their daily work by 50, 60, 70%. But that are the employees I really would like to have in my company to go to the
yeah,
next step. Otherwise, in a few years or months, we are talking about months, they will gone anyway.
yeah.
That's the way it is. So,
And I think, you can also show that you understand how AI impacts your business or your part of that business by aligning it with your strategic goals. Because what I also see is that people try to implement AI just for the sake of it, but that's not really helping. So always align it with your strategy. And even if you're in a sandwich position, I think you have, or you should at least have goals and have a strategic way forward. And also look at that and yeah, work that into your strategy.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, Andre, we spoke previously about the topic of AI as an employee, right? There are possibilities, obviously, that AI can take on jobs where you don't even find a person anymore for stuff that still has to get done. So I think, I mean, maybe asking your opinion, right? So how should managers also look at AI as a resource, and how could they also position themselves, or how, do you see that point that they could actually position themselves as somebody you don't want to leave out of the company, because they are actually not just using the tool but actually thinking more strategic on how can we not just save money for the company, that's not even the goal, but how can we get the stuff done we need to get done that currently doesn't get done because nobody's there to do it, right? So, like, how can they be more strategic in terms of not just managing their own employees, but managing AI as an employee?
Yeah, well, I think if they start to think about what's my return on investment if I invest in some kind of AI tool, or what's measurable actually. If I implement AI, if I change processes, what does it bring me? How much faster am I? How many other things, as you said, that I don't find someone for, that cost me a lot for recruiting, and I still don't find it. I still don't fill the position. So what can I change in my whole organizational setup and my processes and everything, in order to delegate those tasks to AI that I can, and then the free resources of the rest of the people use that for something else, for developing the business, for whatever options you see. So I think you should make it measurable, and you should look at how can I actually quantify what we're gaining with the use of AI. That's also something that probably helps when discussing with the next level, how valuable you still are in that position. So
Do you have the experience that testing a new AI would be not done because it could be a failure?
I think there's always a mix of things, maybe, but not specifically yet. But I think still, I mean, if you admit that you have some areas you're not good in, or you take long. I mean, I'm not the most organized person. I always go with the flow. So sometimes when there's a lot of small things I need to do, I kind of lose track. So um, I would have to admit, by using an AI system that kind of categorizes my to-dos, my emails, that does things for me, I would probably have to admit I'm not good at this stuff. So that takes courage. I think that's one challenge, if that was what you were asking about. So yeah.
Yeah, and I had considered that it is not a once and done job because it's testing. I test out one AI tool, and after a week or after hours, however, I find out, okay, that's not the right one. So that was a good experience to make the test, and that is very important. And that is also a kind of leadership who is necessary to make the mistake and to have
Yeah.
a failure culture.
I think you need absolutely to allow mistakes and to also experiment with it, because as I said, whatever was good 3 months ago doesn't have to be good in the next 3 months. So
Yes.
tools are evolving, things are changing, and I think maybe combining tools, testing out, finding out, I don't work with this tool because sometimes maybe it's the way of how you prompt things that are more favorable to you or to someone else. So I think, yeah, it needs to be allowed that mistakes happen. And I think that's also something that leaders need to look at: the chances and the capabilities of AI, but also the limitations and the restraints of all the different AI tools they use. And I think that's, yeah, important, not only for them, but also to allow that for the employees.
Yep. So if you come to a new company, what would your suggestion or your advice to start with which AI tool, or to start with which strategies? Do you have a system for that, or you have how you are doing that?
I would first of all look at the processes and what are the main process steps and what can be done with AI and what can't, or what where do we still have question marks, and then pick out the low hanging fruits, I would say, and kind of start implementing those things, implementing automatizations, trying to use AI in daily small tasks, and then kind of work my way forward from that, because I think a lot of things that go wrong into when people implement AI is that they focus like 80% on the technology and what's the right tool, and then only 20% of the people. So my advice would really be have a map of your processes and look at the different departments, look at the different tasks, and then pick the low-hanging fruits, start with a low barrier for people, like a low entry barrier for people to start using AI, and then kind of work your way up. I mean, if you're a small company, I wouldn't advise to have a chatbot that you use that you program yourself in the first step. So I would say, okay, let's start easy. And even that, is something that's doable, but probably not the first step, I would advise.
Yeah. How can people get a hold of you, Lisa?
You can reach me on LinkedIn and Instagram and find me there. That's probably the easiest way, or just drop an email. I don't know if you put that in the show notes, but it's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, we definitely add that to the show notes, don't worry. Awesome. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with, like as a takeaway of today's conversation?
I think just get started. Try to experiment yourself. Develop a curiosity, just like a little child, and allow yourself to make mistakes, and then just go with it. I mean, I work in HR. Data and data security is a big issue for me always, but there's always ways to not use names, not use companies, and still experiment with it, and just don't make it look bigger for yourself. Don't think there's a massive mountain. Just start and try climbing, jumping, and just have fun with it, because it really is fun if you use it.
It is. It is. With that, I would say thank you so much for being here today. Guys, if you like the show, please also comment, please share it, let other people see this information, because probably you know somebody who could actually need that information. Maybe they are not yet getting started on AI and they should be doing it. So definitely forward them this interview so that they can get going right now. Okay. And with that, I mean, again, as always, any final words from you, Andre, before we close it up today?
I really enjoyed this day, and there are a lot of nuggets for everybody who can start, because Lisa had so much experience in this field, and I suggest please listen and take some notes out of it, because there are a lot of starting points, and I really appreciate that, Lisa, that you were on our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for having me. It was a pleasure.
Our pleasure is all ours. Thank you so much. And we see us back next week, guys. Looking forward to another episode. Bye bye.